nature, and I told the general I had to go out there to urinate, and he said, okay, pull over here. So pull up. I looked back, he had that big star on his Jeep, you know, and I thought, great, what a target that would be. But anyway, I got about halfway to crumpled trees and brush out there, and something was, I thought it was bees or something. What it was, they were shooting at me.
Whoa.
But I just kept going. I didn't know what to do, to tell you the truth. I looked back at the Jeep, and it was way back here on the road. So I went up and got up to the edge of the brush and all, and I heard you know, when you step on a twig, a dead twig, the noise it makes, you can't distinguish it from anything else. But anyway, and I had walked into the edge of it by that time, and I looked around, and I could touch, there were about 6 or 8 German soldiers there. And camouflage, like perfect. It was just wonderful. But I started shouting the word for surrender.
Who was surrendering?
Yeah, that's right. I'd pulled out my 45 in the meantime.
Did you threaten to pee on them?
No, wait a minute. I got them back. We called the recon group, and those boys coming out of that camouflage, it was, boy, I wish I had a picture of it. It was something else. And we called the recon to come on down and take some prisoners. They did. So the general told me the next day, every division had to have a log as to what happened that day, or unit. And the one for the 80th said, Lieutenant Hull this day captured 8 German soldiers by peeing on them. And he said, told me later, he said, well, I'll take you up there and you can read it, because said it'll go to Washington as official record. But he never did take me up there. So I don't know whether he got to Washington or not. What was the other story?
Did you see any concentration camps?
Hmm?
Did you see any concentration camps?
Yes, I did. I should have brought that in. Malthausen, which was about 15 or 20 miles east of Linz, Austria. Linz was a good sized place. And General Linz and my colonel had called me in one day and said they wanted me to go down there and take a letter and see if we could arrange to have the men go down and see what the Germans had done to these people. And I said, okay. So we flew down there and landed at Linz, and it's the most beautiful flight I've ever had. We sort of deviated from where we were going and got over the Austrian Alps. You know, this was in the summer, but the snow was all over the caps, all over the top of them. But they gave us a Jeep, and we went on down to the concentration camp. And it was camouflaged too, beautifully. We went in and went to the commanding officer. He was a doctor. And I gave him a letter from General Lentz saying they wanted to stagger some of the men to come down there to see what had happened. And he just shook his head and said, impossible, impossible. I said, why is that? He said, you know what, my death rate is running right at 250 a day. And he said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll let you and your friend, the pilot, go through that with a guide, just to see how bad it really was. Well, I wasn't looking forward to that, but he brought a little Polish Jew. He was just a short little fellow, but he could speak a little English. And he took us through into the camps, and it looked like there were hundreds of people lying in those racks, just had racks up there. And you could reach around their hip bone just like that. And the odor wasn't too good either. And then he took us, of all places, and all of a sudden the whole door slammed. And it was dark, and then Wagland, he was a pilot. He said, "What's that?" I said, "I think we're in the gas chamber." And sure enough, we were. Wagland pulled out his pistol, and I said, "Don't be shooting in here." But he just started beating on the door. And the little Polish Jew opened it up. Wagland grabbed him by the neck, lifted him up. Wagland was a big fellow, 6 feet or more. He said, shook him good. He said, "Don't you ever do that again, do you understand?" Poor little fellow looked at him. He shook him again, set him back down. Then we got out of there.
Had the Polish Jewish person been a prisoner, or had he been was he a liberating force, or was he one of the internees in the concentration camp?
Was there any what?
Had he been in the concentration camp himself, or was he in the liberating forces?
He was, no, I think he'd been in the camp, I'm not sure. And I didn't know that.
Okay.
But they would take a certain number, the colonel told me, that they thought could make it, you know. And they would fly them back to into France or England or somewhere they could. But it was, I'll never forget it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat anything for at least 3 days after that.
You probably never want to see that kind of carnage again.
No, I don't. We also liberated a PW camp, prisoner of war. And I've never seen such carrying on in my life. They were young kids, most of them were pilots. And they came marching down the road before we could even get to the camp, singing and carrying on like you can imagine. And I had some champagne, some wine in my Jeep, so I gave it to them, which probably was a mistake, but they were really a happy bunch.
They were not badly malnourished. They weren't so badly malnourished the way the concentration camp people were.
No. Well, of course, some of them could have been in bad shape up in the camp.
In the camp. Yeah. Was that a division objective? Were you told to get out there and free those guys?
No, it was a division objective to capture the camp.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't have to worry about capturing it. We just drove in the thing, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget seeing those particularly look like young boys marching down the road, ragged clothes and uniforms on, hollering and taking on, singing. I'll never forget it.
Gibson, I was in the airport in Puerto Rico 2 days ago when the Puerto Rican troops from Iraq came off the airplane, and disembarked and were walking down the hallways of the airport, and the outpouring of applause and respect for those troops and their response of happiness to being welcomed home by everybody standing up for as far as you could see, applauding them as they walked down the causeway was very touching and very moving, and I'm sure it wasn't nearly as moving as what you saw when the prisoners of war were released, but it was nice to see people united in supporting the troops 2 days ago as they were in World War II.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We've got a tiger by the tail. You just can't turn loose. I don't know how that's going to come out.
Well, we'll wait and see.
I don't think I'll be drafted then. I'm 91.
I think we could use you again. And get your pretty wife to be a cheerleader for everybody.
Oh,
Are we missing any stories, ladies?
The only thing, Miss Hall actually saw Hitler when she was younger. So she went to the 1936 Berlin Olympics. I know that's a different story, but
Europe in
that was
1936.
1936.
The Olympics were in Berlin, and all I did about Hitler, but we were in the stadium. He was just in the stadium, just straight across from us. And it was interesting just seeing him, you know.
and he wouldn't give the Americans their medals. That's what y'all were telling us.
That was a long time ago.
Is that the Olympics that Jesse Owens
Yes, that's right.
was in?
36.
In 1996,
The
during
36,
36.
1936.
1936.
36, yeah.
In 1996, I met an Italian runner who came in second to Jesse Owens in the Olympics in 1936.
Is that right?
He had a
Is
silver
that right?
medal around his neck, and I was working the medical tent at the Olympics here in Atlanta. I asked him where he got it, and he said in the Berlin Olympics in 1936.
Oh,
He told me that he'd run against Jesse Owens. I said, "Did you come in second?" He said, "That's what the silver medal's for."
Barbara said there were three of the Americans won 1, 2, 3 medals, you know.
No,
Hitler wouldn't, Hitler was supposed to come out, put them around the neck or something, but he wouldn't do it,
Wouldn't do it. And that's something.
since they were American.
Anything else you'd like to reminisce about?
No, I think I've done too much already.
Not at all. Well, how'd you get home? When did you get home? And when
Oh,
did you
yeah.
all get reunited?
They laughed at me in the camp. I had gotten a pass to go to Switzerland, and then we got orders to go to France, to Le Havre, and which we did. And then got on a boat, a creaky old boat, but I was glad to get on it. Doctor, you appreciate this. One of my best friends was one of the pilots, Murphy. And I met Murphy on board that ship. We hadn't left it. And he was drinking sweet milk, fresh milk. I said, "Where in the thunder do you find that?" He said, "Go down here," and so forth. And I went down there to the galley and asked them. They said, "Sure," they gave it to me. And I started drinking. Boy, I started running upstairs. And that all came out. I hadn't had been 2 years since I'd had the fresh milk. You know.
That's something.
Yeah.
Where did you see your wife first when you returned from overseas?
I met her in Augusta.
In
I had
Jessup,
another
I don't remember, the Jessup,
in Augusta.
in Augusta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
When we get on the troop train, they called out Captain Hull. I thought, what is this? And I went up and reported, and they said, "You're in charge of the train." I said, "How far does it go?" I said, "All the way to South Carolina." So they gave me a stack of papers like that. The various ones get off. We had in Boston, and then in Rhode Island, and then in New York, and then went all the way down Washington, so forth. But that was something else too. But then we had to get on another train, and it went down to Augusta, Georgia.
Gibson, I think you ought to tell him about your medals. He has a Bronze Star medal and a silver
Oh, yeah.
Purple
Yeah.
Heart. They're right. They're very interesting.
They are.
You've seen them.
They sure are.
Hold them up there in front of
He
you.
did write them out.
This is the Bronze Star. And I,
Hold this one up there. I'll hold them for you so we can. Henry, can you get those?
Two indeed.
I was more
Those-
proud of
those are
the
lovely.
Bronze Star than any other, because it came from the 80th Division, which I had left after the Battle of the Bulge, and joined another artillery group. So I didn't, we were lined up down by the Danube River, there in Regensburg. Beautiful sight. The band was playing, all these troops lined up, they were calling out various names. They all, and I knew I wasn't going to get any because I had transferred to, by golly, the 80th came through and they gave me that Bronze Star.
You are proud of that.
And
You should- you should-
where was that?
Here's another one.
It fell.
Oh, it's over here. I got it out of the way.
And the Purple Heart was from when you got mortared in the railroad yard?
Yes, that's right. I was lying in the hospital, field hospital, and an officer came in and pinned it on me. But this is the one I was really proud of. I want to, where's that paper?
Uh,
Is this it?
bend over.
This may be
This
it.
is just a cushion thing.
This is just the cushion on it. Would you like for me to read that?
Yes.
Wait a second.
It says citation to Company General Order. Bronze Star Medal is awarded First Lieutenant James G. Hull, 01167-907, Headquarters 80th Infantry Division, Artillery, Army of the United States, for meritorious service in France, Luxembourg, and Germany during the period 21st of October 1944 to 12th of April 1945 in connection with military operations against an enemy of the United States. In France, Luxembourg, and Germany during the period of 21st October to 12th of April 1945, First Lieutenant Hull served as Division Artillery Liaison Officer, maintaining contact with the adjacent units in spite of a rapidly moving situation in strange terrain. His efficient performances of his duties in locating and finding means of communicating with adjacent units, particularly during field situations, contributed materially to the success of the division artillery operations. His initiative and devotion to duty reflect great credit upon himself and upon the armed forces of the United States.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Henry, you got anything else you want to ask?
I think so.
Gibson Hall, on behalf of Henry Howell, the Atlanta History Center, the Library of Congress, myself, and our generations, we want to thank you for all you've done for our country.
I didn't do much, I was just there.
You were there in a meaningful way, and you made it possible for Henry and me to go to E River School and a few things like that. And made it possible for us to enjoy the freedom we have today, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate what you've done. And your Brian also. He couldn't have done it without you, I don't think. Thanks so
Couldn't have done
very
without
much.
you.
Thank you, I appreciate it all.
You went for 2 years, I guess, without seeing one another? How long without?
What was that?
How long did you go without seeing one another?
Do you remember?
nearly 2 years.
I would think.
Wow. Mr. Hull, did you get the picture of her when you came back? Is that when you,
Yeah.
you can tell, that's a good story.
I was sitting over there in Germany, and Barbara's parents, father and mother, both writing me, and they'd say, "We have a wonderful gift for you when you get back." And gosh, I got to think about that. Finally, I built it up to a call, because I knew I needed a call. And when I got back, and they said, "Come on in, we're going to see you to see your present." I thought, Lord, you can't get a car and a house. Then they walked in and they showed me that. And they said my face just turned white and dropped out like that.
Was it this portrait?
That portrait
Yeah,
of
it was.
you,
Oh, that's the portrait.
Yeah.
that's it
That's the
right
portrait.
That was
That's
done
good.
when he was.
Can we get a picture
Yeah.
of
That's what he came home to.
Mr. Frank Mack did that, and he was from Chicago. He came down here to touch up the sack around.
that? Okay.
And after he finished, he'd been here several months, and he met this lady, and they fell in love, and he married her. And they decided they just live in Atlanta instead of going back to Chicago.
Goodness gracious.
So he started doing portraits there.
It's a stunning portrait of a very beautiful lady.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful.
Well, this has sure been wonderful to me too. I sure appreciate it.
Well, I've learned a lot I didn't know, and I've enjoyed it very much. I really have.
Well,
I heard a good deal of it.
you really did make it possible for people like me and Henry to grow up in Francis. We feel very fortunate to have known you. And I feel very honored to be your next door neighbor, and I'm just looking forward to hearing more and more stories over the next few
We're
years.
good. We hope.
And we'll keep the cameras warmed up when you get
Get
some
me
more.
that point.
I'll get you that point. Y'all have been married 66 years?
64.
64 years, 64 years. Nice.
Si-
See, that's right, 64 years.
December the 7th.
41.
41.
December 41.
So you're coming up on,
Shortly after Pearl Harbor.
yeah, that's great.
Now, Mr. Hull, this is not, doesn't have anything to do with the war, but he had a client that was very famous, so I don't know if he could talk about that.
Had a what?
His client that was very famous. Remember
Okay,
you got the trophy, the client that gave you the trophy?
Bobby Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that since he's been gone a while?
But they don't want to hear all that.
You
Okay.
bet they do
They
want to
do.
hear all that.
They do. He was,
Don't forget about the movie star they know, Colleen Moore.
okay.
Bobby Jones' youngest
Oh,
daughter,
Bobby Jones.
Yeah, that
he's
was,
a
working
good
in our
friend,
office,
yes.
uh-huh.
He's a good
Mary Ellen, and Bill Crawford had his account, and so Bill decided he'd go into management, and so Mary Ellen came over to me one day in my desk and sat down. She said, "Do you think you have room for Dad's account?" I couldn't talk. I just looked at her, I couldn't talk. Bobby Jones account. I said, but anyway, that went on. He was a wonderful man. I'll never forget him as long as I live. Next to my father, I think he's the most wonderful man I ever met. But I had some wonderful experiences going up to his office. They would call me, his secretary would say, "Mr. Jones would like you, when you go to lunch, to come by." But I wouldn't wait for lunch, I'd take it off right then. One day she called,
There's your picture too.
yeah,
I'll let you show that to him.
And then what about the picture that you gave to wherever it is now?
oh yeah.
Yeah, where is
But anyway,
Well, he did.
after Mr. Jones died in '71, Mary Ellen called me one night, said, "Gibson," said, "Dad taught a lot of you," and said, "I know you've taught a lot of him," and said, "Would you like one of his trophies?" Well, Barbara said, "I fell on the floor." Boy. But anyway, I got up and I said, Yes, yes. And she said, well, what would you like? I said, Mary Ellen, I don't know. You pick it out for me. So she said, I'll do it, and you and Barbara come out and have a drink with us one night. So about 2 or 3 weeks, she called, said, come on out and have a drink. So we went out and there was an old picture, and it was beat up somewhat, but it's what he wanted Druid Hills
Oh,
when he was 15 years old.
Wow.
In 1915, I believe it was. Well, I took that trophy and polished it up, and I didn't know what to do with it. I put it up on the mantle for a while, and then they talked about the robbers around here. So I took it down and put it in the basement. But anyway, I was down at, Barbara and I were down at Sea Island, and I was taking a lesson from one of the young pros there. And he just casually said, I hit one pretty good. I said, that looks like Bobby Jones. I said, no, nobody ever looked like Bobby Jones. And he said, did you know him? I said, yes, I had the privilege of knowing him. And I said, told him, I saw him every week, sometimes twice a week. And his house, he just couldn't believe it, you know. So he said, let me tell Mr. Jones about that, the manager, the owner. So I said, yeah, sure you can. He said, what you gonna do with it? I said, I don't know. I'm scared to do anything with it. So in a few weeks, I got a letter from Bill Jones at Sea Island. He said, we would like to have that trophy, and we will have a special trophy box or something to put it in. So Barbara and I said, all right, we shined up the trophy. Barbara and I went down there, and he had his mother, he had his father died, had his mother, and the board of directors over at the golf club. And so I gave him the trophy. I said, this is a trophy of the greatest golfer of all time, and one of the finest men I've ever known. And we went over there, he told us, come on. We all went over to the hotel and had a wonderful meal. I'll never forget.
Tell them what they put on the trophy case.
Oh yeah, that was a big embarrassment.
What was that name?
What they had on the trophy case.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't remember that.
He remembers.
They, he asked me what I wanted. I said, it's just my name, that's all. He had us to lunch one day before we left, Barbara. And one, Mac Jeffers, called me up dying laughing. Said, guess what they got on your trophy case? I said, Lord, I don't know. Said, Gibson Hull, his trusted friend and advisor. Boy, I was mortified. I said, you kidding? He said, no, come down and see it. But I asked them to change it. I don't think they ever did though. But now it's in at the lodge there.
Oh,
The
the
lodge.
lodge. Yeah.
The lodge.
He built they had a built special cake, about 8 sides of glass.
Were you disappointed that they didn't say your swing reminded them of Bobby Jones's swing?
Nobody will ever be able to do that.
Gibson, I think you have re-emphasized the people my age what the greatest generation really is
No,
all about, and what
Well,
you were and always will be.
every time his secretary would call me, I'd head out up there, and we'd go with something on business, and then I'd bring up golf somewhere, that tournament just had or something like that. And he was sitting in a chair with his hands drawn just like that. And I did it one time, played out with members out at Capital City, played out there, and I had one of those days where you can't miss, you know. And I shot I think it was 80 or 81. So I put the scorecard in my pocket, thought I'd do a little bragging when I got to the office. This was on Saturday. So when I got to the office, the phone was ringing, it was Mr. Jones. He would always say, "Gibson, this is Bob." Well, I knew who it was, but I'd say, "Mr. Jones, thank you." Anyway, forgot what I was going to say.
About the scorecard.
Scorecard.
Oh, yeah. So, as I started out, I reached my pocket, I felt that scorecard. I pulled it out. I said, "Mr. Jones, I got lucky. This weekend I've never shot like this." He said, "Gibson, come in." I said, "Sit down here." So I sat down there, and he took that scorecard, and smart as could be. I mean, he looked down, he said, "All right, number 3. He said, "That's a dog leg to the right." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What did you use on the second shot?" I couldn't remember what I used, you know. But anyway, I said a forward or something, you know. But we had to go through the whole course. And when he finished it, he handed it back to me. And it was on the tip of my tongue. And I wondered why would you mind autograph? You know, just signing it. But it would take him so long. They would put a pen in his hand, and he would just terrible, you know. Well,
Charlie Yates had a 27 on that 9 holes one time.
what's that?
Charlie Yates shot a 27 on that same 9 holes one time.
Sure enough.
Sure enough.
The first 9?
The first 9.
Mighty good score. That thing there has a comedian on there, and he says the best thing to do for a good score is to have a sharp pen. Hit the red button. Can you understand what he said?
Sure, you can improve your score with an eraser.
Does he say more than that?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he has a wide repertoire.
The caregiver gave me that on my birthday, I think.
Okay. Well, Gibson, thank you once again.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming by here.
Appreciate you
Hope I
more than we
didn't
can
bore
tell
you.
you.
Hardly.
Okay?
Well, I thank you too. I heard some things I'd never heard before.
We're going to hear.
This is the beautiful portrait of Barbara Hull that was done by Frank Mack,
He-
while Mr. Hull was Captain Hull in the U.S. Army, 80th Division in France and Germany. And it was
That's
his
right.
coming home surprise.
That's right. And Mr. Mack, is that who it was that did it? And he came to Atlanta from Chicago to work on the cyclorama. But then people started asking him to do their portraits. And he married an Atlanta woman, that was important. Yeah. So he was here for quite and I just don't know now, you know, where he is, what's happened. But he did do that poetry
Beautiful portrait of a beautiful woman.
for 5 years.